Good morning, everybody. Before we please stand, we'll open with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come this morning, dear Lord, just ask you to please be with us throughout this service. Just ask you to please allow our hearts and our minds to be open to the amazing love and truth that you have in your word. We ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Please remain standing.
You'll take your hymnal. We will turn to page 458 in your hymnal. Sweet Hour of Prayer, 458. You may be seated, but if you would take your Kindle, we will turn the page. Wow, 4:59, don't turn the page. I need thee every hour.
So we have any announcements this
Yeah, dinner at the end of March, and also you're going to have the Keystone Quartet here that day also.
morning?
So they will be here for the morning service last Sunday night.
So Monday, March, we'll have the Keystone State Quartet here at church for the service, and then we will have dinner tomorrow. So nice fellowship day for sure. So come on out with that. Anything else? Aaron, do I need to announce the voice? No. Okay. All right. So also, I passed out a paper. My dad and Troy were helping as well. The paper that I gave to you, that is information about the Lancaster trip. Like I said, my mom's been trying to help out because she's scheduled all this stuff in the past before, just trying to get some information together. She got this letter typed up, wanted me to hand it out to everybody. If you're able to go, we would absolutely love to have you there. And it's just anybody that's wanting to go, really. We're trying to do a big church-wide thing. We're trying to do a big community-wide thing. We're just trying to make it where we can get a lot of people to go to this. They're doing Moses, if you weren't aware of that. I'm not sure how they're going to depict everything, but I bet it's going to be pretty awesome. We're still looking at May 20th so far. If that date changes, I'll let everybody know, but that's what we're looking at. I know she has like 20 people that have reached out to her already. I've had almost 10, 15, almost 20 people talking about interest, but definitely 10 people that said they want to go to me already. So we're starting to build up, which is good, which also then in turn makes the price of the bus get cheaper. Tickets, obviously, we have to get a certain amount of people to make sure tickets are at a certain price for group pricing. That is what's on that letter. Her number is on that letter if you would like to reach out to her. I would also like to just reach out to me. Just send me a text message, give me a phone call. If you need my phone number, grab me afterwards. I'll get it to you. I can take care of the transfer entire list together. We're trying to get a call to Sight and Sound this week. So the earlier you can tell me whether you're yay or nay would be great, because then we can give them a head count and say, here's how many tickets we're looking to book, and then we can actually get those seats reserved. We're trying to get to see if we can get whatever group of ours is going to all sit together, be able to go and experience this. Is really cool. So there is that. At the very bottom of that paper, you will see there's a yes or no question. If you have a yes with some information that you want to add, feel free to add. But it's just a simple yes or no if I have interest in doing a art encounter trip next summer. That would be probably an overnight thing. Might be a little bit more difficult for people, but it would be something I think that would be really nice to do as a church, as a group of Christian people, to go down and just experience that together. I think would be really, really cool. But if that's something you'd be interested in, just circle a yes. If you are one of the people that's interested, I'll probably be reaching out to you so that we can get an idea of saying what dates work best for you. When are you going on vacation? Is this going to be your vacation? Those type of things. So that's something we definitely need to look at in the future as well. I'm hoping we get a lot of people to go to Sight and Sound. It's a really fun time. Really enjoy it. So that's what that is with the paper. Anything else I might be missing? All right, if not, do we have any prayer requests this morning?
And also her granddaughter.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
Helen.
Helen?
And her granddaughter, Julie, also.
Any other prayer requests this morning? Yes. Your sister married before. Any others? Yes.
Like the virus my aunt and uncle were taking care of her. She's 93, just for thankful her and everything.
Keep my cousin Dave in prayer. He's facing open heart surgery the 28th.
Any others? Yes.
Arthur Burbaugh family, his wife Roseanne passed away. She was a special lady.
I didn't hear about this. Any other prayer requests this morning?
Dan's dad passed away this week.
Any others? Continue to keep Olivia Ferrero in prayer as she's continuing going through this. I don't have any updates as of today from this past week, from last Sunday, but just continue to keep her in prayer and the family in prayer. Still going through all these tests. I know that she's actually missed a lot of school this past week just because of this thing. It's been kind of starting to put a heavy toll on her body wise and stuff, so continue to keep her in prayer as well.
Remember Jacob? He's still in pain. He goes to the doctor tomorrow.
Any others? How many unspoken prayer requests I just want to raise a hand? All right, if we could please bow our heads for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come this morning, dear Lord, just once again asking you to please watch over these things as we bring them to you and we lay them at your feet, Lord. Please watch over Helen and her granddaughter. We ask you to please watch over Lori and Mary, dear Lord. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we also ask you to please watch over our Grandma Hildebrand, who is sick, and just ask you to please be with the family that's helping take care of her. We just ask you to please help her through this virus and whatever is taking place health-wise, Lord. We just ask you to please heal her and help her with this issue and help the family who's taking care of her as well. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we bring to you Dave, who's going to be going to surgery. We just ask you to please watch over him and guide and protect him. Put your hand upon the doctors so that they know and can take care of whatever issues may arise during the procedure. We just ask you to please help them, guide and protect them throughout this entire process. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we also bring the Butterball family as they go through a loss of a mother and a family member. Lord, we just ask you to please help this family as they go through this difficult time and help them through this mourning process. Allow them to feel your presence and your love, even though they don't understand what's going on. None of us do, Lord, but we just ask you to please help this family as they go through this difficult loss, Lord. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we also bring to Dan and his family who's going through the loss of his father. We just ask you to please be with them throughout the loss of this and throughout the mourning process as this is all going to be taking place. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we also bring to you once again Olivia Ferrero as she continues to go through all of the tests and all the things going on with her health. We just ask you to put your healing hand upon her, dear Lord. You are the greatest physician of all time. We just ask you to please touch her and help her in this very difficult time. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we also bring you Jacob, who is still in a lot of pain. We just ask you to help him throughout the issues that he's having, and also help the doctors as they will be able to hopefully get things taken care of and squared away for him to help him get out of pain and just allow them to figure things out as what he's done. And then, dear Heavenly Father, we bring to you all the upraised hands of the unspoken prayer requests. I just ask you to please put your hand upon each and every one of those situations, that even though there wasn't a single word uttered, you know exactly what's taking place in each and every one of them. And then, dear Lord, I just want to ask you to please watch over this congregation. Continue to guide and protect each and every one of us. We ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Okay, let's just go forward to the offer. And Carl. Yeah.
Our Heavenly Father, we praise you, love you, and for watching over us. We ask the Lord to bless you by us together. We give you all the praise and peace.
Good morning once again, everybody. It's nice to see everybody here this morning. We've got some sun shining. Might be a little bit cool for you outside. I think it feels absolutely glorious. I'm very happy with the temperature outside the way it is now. I know it might be a little bit chilly, but we haven't had a winter, so I don't want to hear any complaining about it. So I just want to let everybody know winter still has not come to us yet. Really, we haven't gotten any of it. So I'm thinking it's not going to end up happening very much so. We'll see how right or wrong, most likely wrong I am. But this morning, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be jumping into something that a lot of us as Christians actually probably understand. What we're going to be talking about today is something that a lot of us either recognize, have heard of before, or at least even ourselves have dove into understanding of certain sections of the Bible and what it's speaking about. Whenever it comes to this kind of necessarily understood topic that we're going to be touching on, in many cases, we just don't want to talk about it. It's one of the things we don't really want to discuss or go over, and in many cases, we definitely don't want to be talking to someone else about it because it could rather pull us in or make us think differently or whatever it may be. There are a lot of things that happen to Christians that we just don't want to talk about a lot of the time. In a lot of cases, we go through a lot of different situations. Christians, we just say they should be kind of not spoken about or not talked about or, yes, we know, let's move on type of situations. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about something that really goes along with Christ himself and what he said of what happens to us as Christians as we get closer to him, as things begin to mesh and things that we're looking for. And we'll be going around and kind of talking about these things from a very specific section of the Bible, which we'll be addressing. But the title of my message this morning is called Close and Convicted. Because this is something that as we get closer to Christ, we will find ourselves feeling a lot more. What those things mean as we go down Scripture. So the first section of Scripture we're going to be looking at is the book of Luke, chapter 14, verses 25 to 35. So once again, we're looking at Luke 14, 25 to 35. Now, as some of you are going to be turning there, I want to kind of discuss what we're going to be reading. Once again, I always tell everybody I read from the NIV Bible. I'm here standing with you because I want you to know what I'm saying. If I'm standing there reading from the King James and I'm saying that these without no one has any clue what's happening, 90% of you fall asleep, the other 10% are thinking about what's going on later at home. So that's kind of where we're at with this. I read from the NIV so you are at least able to focus in a little bit more on what I'm saying. Also, what you recognize, and this in my Bible specifically, all Bibles are different in many cases, but this section is labeled, a very important label here, the cost of being a disciple. Now, the reason this is so important is because if you want to sit back and call yourself a disciple of Jesus Christ, it comes at a cost. If you want to sit down and say, I am a follower of God, I am one who is turning to Christ, it comes at a cost. This is why one of those sections that Christians don't like to talk about. Christians don't like to address where there might be an issue or a problem or a stumble that takes place. In many cases, we just want to talk about the lovey-dovey, beautiful things of all the things that go on and how things will be perfect. And in many cases, that's just not what it is. Because as you get closer, you become more convicted. And we'll address what that means here shortly after a while. But once again, we're looking at Luke 14, 25 to 35, called The Cost of Being a Disciple. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and turning to them, he said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. It's a pretty heavy statement, isn't it? It's pretty heavy because God, Christ here, is giving you no gray area. And I would make the argument in almost every case, and in every case in my mind, whenever Jesus Christ opens his mouth, he gives black and white. He does not give gray and this option and that option, here or there. It is either you are for or you are against. You are either with or you are without. You're either following or you are not following. There is no in between. Christ identifies that very much so here. What he's doing, if we look at verse 25, it says large crowds are traveling with Jesus. What we need to recognize, the reason this is so important, is at this time in Jesus' ministry, he was becoming extremely popular. In some ways, the good popular, and in some ways, the bad popular. In many cases, government officials, heads of the religious sects of that area, that were all coming to be saying that was bad popularity because he was doing too many crowds and saying too many things. Whenever it came to the people like you and I, he was becoming extremely good popular. But what Christ has to do is he has to address who is walking with him. So we need to step in the mind of the crowd of what's going along with Christ at this time. What we end up seeing and recognizing is what's happening is since Christ is so popular and is getting such a big following, he is bringing in all types of people. He is bringing in the people that say, hey, I want to follow that man from Nazareth because everyone's talking about him. Or I want to follow this Christ because it performs all these miracles. I want to follow this Christ because, well, my neighbor Jimmy said he's kind of a cool guy, so I'm going to go see what it's about. Or maybe they're following Christ for maybe a reason you have chosen to. Well, because mom and dad said I should, so I'm going with them. Or maybe it was simply, you know what, I heard about this Nazarene, and I want to hear what he has to say, and just understand a little bit of his theology, so I'm going to follow him for a little bit. But later I'll go and do my own thing. So Jesus directly has to address this group of people, because he knows not everyone there is really all there. If anyone comes to me, if anyone follows me, if anyone is making a decision to pick me over whatever else is going on in life, that's what he's saying. If anyone comes to me, but does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life. Well, hold on, Travis. You talk to us every Sunday about how much you love your wife and you love your family and you love this and you love that 100%. But in context, that's not what Christ is speaking about here. What Christ is speaking about is if you love those things more than you love him. So if you are following me, but you love your father and mother more than me, if you follow me but love your wife and your children more than me, if you follow me but you love your brothers and sisters more than me, if you're following me and yes, even love yourself more than you love me, then you are not my disciple. He doesn't say that we need to have a conversation. He doesn't say let's talk about it. He doesn't say let's figure some other paths about it. He says you are not my disciple. Period. And then it continues and says that whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. So Travis, how do I be a disciple of Christ? He just gave you two exact scenarios in which you can call yourself one. If you choose to love him above all else, and if you love him above everything else in life, period, then you must be willing to pick up your crap and take it to him so he can take care of it. But you must be willing to pick it up. What's it mean to carry your own cross? Carrying Jesus' cross, whenever Jesus carried his own cross, he was carrying the instrument in which he was about. He was taking he had to die on so everyone else could be saved. It was his sacrificial table, if you would. And he says we must be willing to do the same by picking up our cross. Meaning we must be willing to also make sacrifice. Now, I'm not asking any of you to go home today and go buy a goat and begin to start sacrificing the goat. That's not what I'm asking you. Christ is simply saying, you must be willing to love me above everything else, and not only just me and not everyone else, but also love me above your own self, and then turn around to sacrifice yourself for my. And then he continues and gives some examples, just in case you're still a little bit tripped up. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to... How many of you ever bought a car before? I always say a new car, right? It's not brand new, it's not new, it's just new to me. If it's new to me... So I buy a car. Is it just something you do? You're driving down the road, your car's completely fine, and you pass a dealership, you're like, you know what, I'm going to pull in there and just go buy a car. Does it work like that? If it does, come talk to me. We're going to have some conversations. Of course not, right? If you want to go buy a vehicle, 99% of the time, here's the reason why. You're driving down the road and all of a sudden it sounds like someone's knocking on your hood. You're not sure why, you don't know what the noise is coming from. You know something in there, you know it sounds bad and mean. I need to go get this checked out. Oh, pretty rough? Okay. That thing needs to last for another month and a half because I got to get money saved up so I can go put a very small down payment on a vehicle I'm already buying and then make sure I can afford the payment. But there is some thought process that comes behind it. You must sit down and figure out, okay, Travis, how much of a car can we afford today? Well, I've got $500 to put down. Here's what the bank says I can leave with, and here's what the bank says if you ask for it, we're kicking you out. Either way it may be, you have options here, and here's what I can afford monthly. You have to sit down and figure out the numbers before you say, I'm going to go buy a car. But he's talking about building a tower. That's the next step. Now you're going to build a tower or build a house. You have to start with the foundation. Someone else most likely does. They put down the foundation. They come up to you. Their palm's a little itchy. They put their hand out. You pay them for putting the foundation of the home down. You put the foundation of the home down. The next guy shows up. He wants to start putting walls up and getting some things taken care of. And he says, all right, here's what's going to cost you. And you say, I don't have that kind of money. What's he say? Bye. And he leaves. You're stuck with the foundation. What's Christ says happen after that? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone sees it and will ridicule you. How many of you like being made fun of? Anybody? Of course not, right? You put the foundation of a house down, excuse me, and you're not able to finish it, some people are going to be like, that's a little weird, isn't it? Well, they're going to say, what's that slab of cement for if you didn't put a basement in? Whatever it may be. They're going to kind of make fun of you. They're going to ridicule you for doing so. Then a person began to build and was not able to finish. He gives another example. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 3,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off, and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything, you cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. That last part is basically saying, if anyone has ears and is able to listen, they need to be paying attention. Is everyone hearing me this morning? We need to be paying attention. I like that last part in 34. It says, salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? Can't be. So it says it's not even good for the soil at that point. Can't put it in the dirt. He takes it a step further. It's not even good for the pile of crap sitting over there either. It's got to be thrown out. It's got to be done away with. Completely taken out and thrown away is no longer. Because those of you that do not give up everything, you cannot be my disciple. What else is he saying here? With the examples he's given of all these things taking place, he is saying if you make a cognitive decision to say, today I want to follow Christ, you better actually think about it. It is not just something you say, I'm following Christ today. Whew, this feels good. It is something you must actually think about, plan over, decide upon, and then finally execute. Throughout the entire Bible, we see that Christ is speaking, and when he is telling us what it means to be a Christian or come to Christ, he is saying it is going to cost you something. Here's how. Christ is not even trying to speak about tithing in this instance. Giving money to the church, giving money to anybody. It's going to cost you something completely different. You have to count the cost of your body, your mind, and your heart. Your heart and your mind and your body all must go into this. But Christ is demanding that they all are Him and all Him all the time. Meaning He wants to be the Lord of your heart. He wants to be the Lord of your body. He wants to be the Lord of your mind. 24/7, 365 days a year, nonstop. He doesn't want to rule over your body while your heart is not. He doesn't want to rule over your heart while your body is running around doing whatever it wants to do. And He doesn't want to rule over your mind if your heart isn't there and your body is running all over the place. First, let's look at your body. Paul said in 1 Corinthians, I keep my body under discipline. How many of us like food this morning? I think all of us, right? Probably hear some stomachs growling if you're sitting next to someone right now. They're getting hungry. Travis, let's wrap this up. How disciplined are you with your body when it comes to food? Not very, huh? Whenever I'm going down through these things, I forgot to do this declaration at the beginning of the message. As I am going down through this message, and we're talking about some things that we don't necessarily want to talk about, we're talking about them because Travis has already had the conversation all week prior to giving you the message today. Meaning, as I was sitting down and researching and going over things and reading through the Bible and finding different sections, I was sitting there saying, geez, oh man, we need to make a change, don't we? And I was having this difficult conversation with myself all week long. You just get it for the next 20 minutes or so. But how many of us keep our bodies under discipline? Yes, we can make the argument with food. We're not very disciplined in that, are we? Body's already out of discipline. Let's take it to the next step. There are tons of times all throughout the Bible where we find where people are not keeping their discipline. And they fall victim to letting the flesh do whatever the flesh wants to do. We'll go back to the very first time this took place. We all know who Eve is, right? Kind of an important lady, the first mother, the first woman ever created, kind of an important person. She happens to look up on this tree. God said, I have created all of this for you. Just don't do that one thing. Has God ever been so direct in all of history before? Right? He says, here's what I don't want you to do. Here's what's happening. Figure it out. Here's what I don't want you to do. Don't do that. Kind of figure it out in that situation. When it came to Eve and Adam, he said, listen, don't eat from this tree. What? Eve sits there and she looks at this fruit, so delicious looking. Yes, there's all this amazing stuff, but look how beautiful that fruit is. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I want to eat it. It's going to punish my being. It's going to be there. I want to eat it. It's taken care of. But also the flesh is saying, I want to know what God knows. So what does she do? She eats of the tree. Yes, she did it first. Men, one. Adam and Eve choose to eat from the tree that God said, do not eat from, because their flesh said, I want that because I'm not allowed to have it. I know we've all gone through some point in some life, either ourselves or somebody else, that we have recognized that whenever we are told or someone else is told, don't do that, what's the first thing you want to do? Well, I really want to do that. Sam, whatever you do, don't touch your brother. He's trying to sleep. And he looks at you. I just said, it's not that calm usually. There's a little bit of a snap that takes place afterwards. But whenever we find something that we are told not to do, our flesh says, I want to do that. Adam and Eve's first sin was the fall of the lust of the flesh. And then they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. And because of that one sin, the sin of the flesh, we all here today, all people who existed today, yesterday, suffer because of that one single sin. Where the body took over, and we couldn't be disciplined enough to let God take control. It's not just in the Bible that these things take place, are they? We see them all over the place. The lust of the flesh is everywhere. We see something that we want to do. What do? We do it. Travis, why do we do it? Well, it felt pretty darn good. It made me pretty happy. I really enjoyed it. Great. What to do for God. We struggle with lust of the body all the time. We're always looking for that next thing that's going to make us the happiest, aren't we? Sold his birthright so that he could eat and drink and experience life. Samson allowed a beautiful woman to destroy the gifts that God gave him. Why? She was really pretty. Why? Well, that drinking and eating and experiencing life was pretty fun. Because it felt good to the body. And today this is happening all around us. In this community, in this area, we see drug usage up by 26% in the last 2 years, more than the last 10 years combined. We see alcohol abuse in this area up and all across the country. We see it every single day on the news. Why? Because it feels good, Travis. Because it makes me forget, Travis. Because it doesn't let me worry about anything more, Travis. Whenever I drink, I get happy. Whenever I do drugs, I'm numb. Whenever I do all these things, it's what I want to do. And it all started from taking one fruit from the tree. We see all over the place where people are just open with relationships, interactions, sexually, with whatever else it may be, whatever else you want to feel. We see it day in and day out. Why? Because we just want to. If you were going to come to the cross this morning, you were to come to the cross with your body as the sacrifice. Allow God to take control of all of it. Next, we have the mind. Allowing yourself to give all of your thoughts and interactions in your mind to be given to God. I saw this saying and I thought it meant so much. The true wealth of your life is in your thoughts. The true wealth of your life is in your thoughts. Quick question. I'm not asking anyone to be condemned here this morning or for me to see you and recognize that you don't like listening to me. But anyway,